to God must believe that He is. Hebrews chapter number 1 says that God spoke to us in these last days by His Son. Then he makes a statement about this that
the views, opinions, positions, or strategies expressed on WLAF TV 12 do not necessarily reflect those of the staff, management, ownership, or advertisers of WLAF TV 12, 1450 WLAF Radio, FM 100.9, or 1450WLAF.com.
When every second counts, count on Vital Care MedTrans. You do have a choice when it comes to ambulance service in this area. So when you call 911, ask for the best.
Wait a minute, are you Vital Care?
Yes, we are.
Oh, good.
State-of-the-art equipment and a well-trained staff who stand ready to respond to your call. That's Vital Care MedTrans, when nothing but the best will do.
Are we live, Honeybee? Thank you, Honeybee. I'm supposed to have a guest here, folks. I'm trying to call him, see if he's coming. I'm supposed to have a guest with me tonight. So hopefully he's going to come. He told me he wasn't sure whether he could make it or not. So I appreciate you tuning in. If my guest don't make it, that cuts down drastically on what I had to talk about tonight. But I want to talk about the city of La Follette and what's going on there. Because I did get one phone call about their meeting Monday night, and a rumor that's going around is absolutely not true. It wasn't part of what I saw at the meeting, and I was at the meeting Monday night. But first, I'd like to appreciate my sponsors, Vital Care. The spring's coming on, summer's coming on, everybody's more active. You need to take that phone number with you, folks, or when you call 911, just ask for Vital Care. They'll come get you, they'll come take care of you. They've got plenty of ambulances. They got plenty of folks working for them down there. They can get to you. Or if you just need to go to the doctor or something and you need an ambulance to take you, they'll be glad to do that. So, and appreciate the folks down at Riggs Drugs. We'll probably have Mr. Fannin on here several times in the coming months. He's running for state representative. The drugstore operation goes on and on and on, whether he's in there all the time or not, because he's going to have to spend a lot of time in this race for state representative. But he's got enough folks down there. They've been doing what they do, that operation and you getting your medicine is not going to bother it one bit. So, but remember those folks, go see them, and I'll appreciate that. Monday night at the La Follette City Council meeting, I'm going to be honest with you, somebody asked me why I was there. I happened to be in town, and I haven't been to one of their meetings in a long time. And I heard there might be some controversial issues come up. And I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to see if any of the silliness shows up that's been in some of the past meetings. Just to be honest with you, folks, I went down there to see the show. That's just being honest. I went to see the show. And it never happened. It never came up. So that never, the show never showed up. They had a respectable meeting. Everybody was respectable. There were two issues that I kind of wanted to hear the discussion on, and the first one was, and we talked about it a little bit last week, and we talked about it certainly when Mr. Fannin was on the show a few weeks ago. That La Follette has a city charter, and Mr. Fannin is bringing up a resolution that basically just says, we're going to start following the charter. We're going to do what the charter says, okay? And the charter says that the city administrator is in charge of the day-to-day operations of the city of La Follette, okay? What's happened in the past when they didn't have a city administrator, Mr. Stanfield, and I'm not fussing about Mr. Stanfield, Mike Stanfield, the mayor, pretty much, from my understanding, and from talking to him and others, pretty much handled those situations that came up as best that he could. You know, and I know Mike, and you all know Mike. Gosh, if you call Mike at 2 o'clock in the morning and say you got a limb down across your road or across your driveway or something, Mike will get a chainsaw and come out and cut it out, folks. He'll do that himself. You know that as well as I do. There ain't no, you know, you can't nobody argue about Mike being a servant of the people. Okay, but that's not what this discussion is about. This discussion is about operating the city by the charter that they have. Okay, and one of the issues come up, and it was not directly at Mike, but it was directed at Mike and the council, was that occasionally there had been times when somebody, maybe a council member or maybe the mayor himself, if he saw something needed to be done somewhere, he might see one of the employees of the road department or sanitation department or something else, you know, the fire department, police department, I don't know, okay, and say, hey, why don't you come over here and help me, you know, help me, let's get this done, help me, you know. And then all of a sudden the department head of that department comes looking for the employee, and the employee ain't there, okay. Well, the charter says you can't do that, okay. If you're my understanding is the mayor and the council are really only supposed to give orders or things, something like that, through the city administrator in a called meeting. Okay? But I mean, folks, we're just human, and you got to use some common sense along this kind of thing. But what you have to go by, you have to remember that charter. Okay? Let's say, let's use Mr. Fannin. Let's use Mr. Fannin. Let's say Mr. Fannin was driving down the road, and a tree branch fell off and was laying across the road, or laying partially across the road, and needed to be moved, or is potentially going to cause a wreck. Okay? Mr. Fannin, nor any other council members or the mayor, has any business calling up one of the street department employees and saying, hey, come over here and do this. Okay? Mr. Fannin or anybody else, and I'm just using him hypothetically, folks, okay, should call the city administrator or a department head and say, you know, hey, there's a tree limb over here, you might want to look at getting, you know, some folks out here. And that department head would get the employee out to do that work. Okay, that's according to the charter. Okay, if you go opposite of what the charter says, one thing you're really doing if that employee gets hurt, let's say Mr. Fannin, Mr. Hatmaker, Ms. Thompson, Mr. Bowlinger, or the mayor got an employee and says, hey, come over here, this won't take but a few minutes, come over here and help me move this and help me get this out of the way. The employee gets hurt. Okay, they've opened themselves up for a big lawsuit against probably the council member, the mayor, and the city if that employee gets hurt, because all of a sudden you went against the charter and brought somebody out there. And these are just legal things, folks. It's basically what it comes down to, legal issues. Okay, but it also comes down to properly running the city. Okay, so the resolution, and I was there and I heard the discussion, the resolution basically says we just want it known, put it on record, that we're going to run the city according to the city charter. Now, I got a call today from somebody that asked me, had I heard that this resolution is trying to prevent employees from calling the mayor, calling a council member, for talking to the mayor, talking to a council member. Well, I didn't hear that discussion at all. Not one bit did I hear that discussion. Okay? The discussion I heard was simply, we're going to follow the charter. You know, those employees down there, I mean, everybody knows everybody. Okay? They're all friends. Probably a bunch of them are neighbors in Campbell County. I'm gonna refer to an article Ann Hester wrote in the Christian Journal Leader. I just read it. I think it's a fantastic article. I think I agree with about 99% of it. But in Campbell County, she mentions here probably a bunch of them's relatives. You know, they're kin to each other. You know, that's one of her points in this article, and we all know that's a fact. Okay, so I mean, folks are going to say something to somebody and say, oh, maybe we need to go over here, maybe we need to look at this, maybe we need to do this, you know. But even with that situation, you still need to go through the department head. You know, if let's say the mayor showed up and one of the employees or one of the council members showed up, one of the employees saw a situation, knew it needed to be fixed. He don't need to say, Mayor, council member, is it all right with you if I go over here and fix this? Okay, that's none of their concern. You know, you call that, you know, and that resolution doesn't stop that at all. Does not stop that one bit. Okay, it just sets down basically the chain of command and says we're going to follow the chain of command as it is given in the city's charter. Okay. And that's the proper way to do it, folks. That's just the proper way to operate it. Okay, so if you're not going to operate by the city charter, throw it out the window. You know, so I mean, our federal government don't operate by the Constitution, so they need to throw that out the window. We all know that. You know, they've gone against that so many times it's crazy. So we need to throw the Constitution out. But you know, I don't know about Jacksboro's department, you know, Caryville, Jellicoe. I know the county is not followed very well as far as I know. But the city needs to follow that charter, okay? The other discussion that came up was Mayor Stanfield apparently has, and I think they discussed it's about a 19 or 20-year-old car that he drives around, you know, that's assigned to him by the city, and apparently has a gas card, and they're going to take a vote on, and apparently the discussion is that car and that gas card is not in the charter. It's not in, there was no, as far as I understand, there was never any resolution that authorized that. It's just something that was given to him. And, you know, and Mike, I mean, I've seen Mike out in that car. I've seen, you know, I've been on a couple calls up in the city of La Follette, and Mike comes up there. Just about ain't nothing that happens in the city of La Follette that Mike don't show up to. You all know that if there's a trouble situation somewhere, Mike will tend to show up and do whatever he can to lend assistance, okay? But, you know, that's not in the charter. In my understanding, there's never been a resolution. So the discussion was to remove that car and to take the gas card away from that situation, okay? And I think Mike even, during the meeting, it was a workshop, so it's all just discussion. There's obviously no votes taken on anything. I think Mike even offered to give the car back at that time. I don't know if he's done that or not, okay? But, you know, the good thing about it, all these were civil discussions. No silliness took place, no childishness, you know. And I'll be honest with you, I went down there, I expected to see that, knowing that there were some controversial things coming up. I expected to see that, but it didn't happen. You know, and, you know, I don't think anybody was mad at anybody. They're just discussing, you know, operating the city as it should be operated, okay? Now, one of the things that another thing that came out of that meeting, they were talking about the Dossett, I think it's called the Dossett Lane Bridge. Somebody help me out with that. I'll try to find that. The Dossett Lane Bridge, that's going to cost about $2.8 million to fix down there. I think runs by Fazoli's out to the airport, which will make it easier for ambulances and fire crews, you know, to get over if there's a situation comes up there, okay? Here we go. So they talked about that, and let me get down to it. There we go, Dossett Lane Bridge. They brought that up, and they're hoping that, you know, that about 80% of the coverage of what that's costing is going to be from a federal grant, okay? Ever since that discussion has come up, all I've heard is who owns the property? Who owns the property on the other side of that? Who, you know, who's going to financially benefit from this bridge being put in at a cost of, I think, $2.8 million. Okay, who's going to benefit, and are they doing this as a political payback, a political favor, for somebody, favor for somebody that owns property over there to help them out financially? Okay, so I thought, okay, I'm going to check on this. I called Brandon Parton yesterday, and Brandon and I talked about this, and I asked him, I said, Brandon, I had a suspicion who I thought owned that property, and it turned out that doesn't, as far as I know, doesn't own any of it. Maybe a small tract, but doesn't own any of it. There's apparently over 210, 220 acres of land over there, maybe 250 acres of land over there, that was suggested that, if they put this bridge up, somebody suggested this land could be used as an industrial park. Okay. Well, I had a long discussion with Brandon. He pulled up his map. He told me who owns most of the land. It was not at all who I suspected owned it. But he said the Rogers Group owns most of that land. I think it's about 175, 176, 177 acres of that land that Rogers Group owns. Okay. And then a private individual owns about a 77 tract of land that I know very well. He ain't gonna do anything with it, as far as I know. He owns, some of it. And then the next biggest tract of land was 26 acres. But Brandon looked at it and he said, Jerry, I don't know how they could use this as an industrial park. He said, you can't get to it. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I said, first of all, I was kind of curious why Rogers Group had 177 acres, and his speculation was he thought that when the Claibornes sold the old rock quarry and all that down on Toe String, that they had that land with it, and he thought it might be a situation where they had to buy this land to get all the other. It just kind of was a big package deal. And that was purely speculation, folks. We're just talking back and forth trying to figure out why Rogers Group had all that land. And, it's just purely speculation, just two fellas talking. How you'll sit around and talk and try to speculate and figure out why somebody did something. And that's all, no concrete anything. We just figured, that they had that land because when they bought the rock quarry and all that they bought that with it. Okay. So Brandon said, in an industrial park, you can't go through the rock quarry to get to the land. And you've got the graveyard out there. And he said, all of it's on the other side of the airport. He said, really? He looking at his map. I didn't see it. He said, I don't see how you can get to it to make an industrial park out of it. So the rumor going around and all that City of La Follette's doing this as a favor to somebody, trying to help somebody out financially and all that. I just don't see it. If somebody knows something I know, I don't see it. I've heard that rumor ever since this came up. Who's this going to benefit? We have a lot goes on in Campbell County that some of our government people do that is self-beneficial or beneficial to one of their friends. We all know that, okay? But my investigation, my looking into this Dossett Lane Bridge, is that the sole beneficiary of it is the county, the lower part of the county anyway, that if you need an ambulance or you need a fire or if you're down in Caryville and you've had an accident and the ambulance needs to get to the airport to, if they can't get the helicopter down there and they need to get you to the helicopter, it's a lot quicker to get you to the helicopter once they get this bridge fixed. Okay? And this truly, to me, looks to be like one of those things that is for the betterment of the community. It's that simple. Okay? Some things are, and if this thing plays out right, one of the things they discussed, La Follette's, and this is a $2.8 million project. The county has chipped in and said they'll pay a portion of it because it benefits, everybody down here. Hopefully you'll never need that ambulance service to get you there. Okay. Hopefully you'll never need a fire service, but if you do, you'll be tickled to death that bridge is there and it's took 10, 15 minutes off the drive, whatever it would take to go around and get you there, okay? So, La Follett's portion of this right now stands to be $280,000 of the $2.8 million. The county portion would be $280,000. Well, it came up at a meeting the other night. There may be some extra grant money out there that would actually take the city of La Follette's part down, as well as the county's part down, to $28,000 apiece. Okay, this goes back to grants, and grants are tax money and it's our tax dollars and all that. Okay, some people say, well, we shouldn't take grants because it's tax dollars. It's well, my feeling is there's grants out there. Somebody's going to get it. Somebody's going to use it. It may as well be us. Okay, we may as well take advantage of those grants when we can get them. Apparently they've got a good portion of it already, or it's being lined up. I don't know when this project's going to start, but this looks like a great project that hopefully is not going to cost anybody locally too much. Okay, so there you go on that. So that's basically what's happening in the city of La Follette. So they're going to have an auction on May 7th. There's going to be 15 a house and 15 city lots and some vehicles and a mower May 7th. I assume that'll be 10 o'clock at the normal place where they wouldn't where they normally have their auction. Now I will tell you one thing. Miss Thompson brought up Miss Thompson is a long-range goal person. Okay, you can tell that by listening to her. She's not looking at what's happening next month, 6 months, a year down the road. Miss Thompson's, she brought up a couple issues. She's looking long-term betterment for the community. And one thing Miss Thompson's looking at is, I think she'd really like to see a county fair, even if it happens in the city of La Follette, if you want to call it a county fair. I think I've talked to her about that before, and we'd love to see that happen. Okay, a lot of counties around us, of course, Knox County has that big fair they have. Anderson County has one. I think it goes a week long. They have people coming from all over the place. It's been brought up several times. Now, the mayor told me a year and a half ago that he was going to put together a committee of folks that he wanted to work on that. I've never seen it. It's never happened. Okay, so that committee has not happened. I've long thought, I agree with Ms. Thompson, bringing in a county fair, maybe a 5-day, 6-day, 7-day county fair would be a great thing to do. Okay, we got a lot of farmers around here, because when you tie in county fairs, you generally do have a lot of agriculture on these farms. I guarantee you, we got a lot of farmers around here that would participate. I know some folks that every year they take their cattle, their sheep, whatever they got, their goats, whatever they got, excuse me, to Knoxville to be part of the fair. Okay. Why can't we have one here? We should have been. That should have already been happening. Okay, that should have already been happening. So, also let me talk about this one thing here. Beer permits in the city of La Follette. There was an issue came up Monday night about a beer permit, okay, that they're trying to find out. The Shepherd's Home, it says here, is a Christian transition home for women recovering from drug addiction, okay. It is located in Jacksboro. 2 years ago, a second house was opened on East Central Avenue in La Follette. The purpose of the second home was to give residents a place to transition into society, okay. They're going to get an opinion. There's an individual who is trying to get a beer permit somewhere down there. I'm not sure where it is, but apparently it's close to this Shepherd's Home. And the folks at the Shepherd's Home are saying, hey, we're a church. because you can't have a beer operation so close to a church or a school, and they're saying they're a church. And one issue came up, and so they tabled this because they're going to get an opinion from MTAS as to whether Reed Troutman didn't do it, but another attorney, I think Kathy Parrott, if I remember right, Kathy Parrott, who is now the city judge in La Follette, was at some kind of conference in Nashville, and she had sent them a letter stating that homes like that at times have been considered to be churches, and you might, and this is, and I'm reading this here, but going by memory too, and you can't have that, give a beer permit close to a church. Well, they're going to get an opinion from MTAS. They're the folks that give opinions on city law, associated with the University of Tennessee, that give opinions on city law, to see whether the Shepherd's Home should be considered a church facility or not. Okay, they're going to try to have that opinion back by next Tuesday, I believe. So if they can't, then they'll have to table it for another month and take it up next month. But one of the issues also with that is, and apparently there's a application fee of $250, maybe $500, whatever it is. I think somebody told me it's $250 application fee. Okay, well, this application fee, and I agree with Mr. Bollinger, what Mr. Bollinger said. When you pay your application fee, they're doing background checks, they're doing zoning checks, they're doing all kinds of checks to see whether what you're trying to do fits the city code, fits the zoning laws, and doing background checks on the folks who are, if there's 1, 2, 3 owners of, doing background checks to make sure these people are people that are eligible to hold a beer permit and a beer license. Okay, well, it costs money to do all that. Okay, for some reason, I'm not sure who it is or anything, but for some reason, a month or two ago, somebody tried to get a beer permit and was denied that permit, and apparently thought they were going to get their money back. Well, when you do all those searches, it costs money to do that. That's my understanding. What I was told, that's what your application money is for, is to do all those searches they have to do to try to get you, these permits. Okay, well, this person here, apparently somebody in this situation, because it's not going to their liking or whatever, they're not getting their beer permit as quick as they think they ought to, or asking for their $250 back, or whatever it is. And they had that discussion, and Mr. Bollinger brought it up and said, look, I'm not in favor of giving any money back. He said, it cost us to do this search, it cost us to do this search, it cost us to do this, and that's what that fee's for, because we got to pay for these things as we do them. Just because you don't get your permit doesn't mean you get your money back for your application fee. Okay, so for me, my opinion, I'm in full agreement with that. If you don't, just because you don't get what you want doesn't mean you get your money back. Because that's an unfortunate part of that. But if you had fit all criteria that they need to give you a beer permit, then it would have cost the same amount to do the research. It doesn't cost any less just because you didn't get the beer permit. Okay, so your $250 that's what it goes for, is my understanding. It goes for that. Then I think if you were to get the beer permit, I believe there's another $250 for the actual permit. I think somebody told me it's about $500 total. So, but anyway, so that's pretty much what's going on in the city of La Follette, and I wanted to bring it up, and be honest with you, I was hoping Hansford Hatmaker would be here tonight, because we were going to discuss those kind of things that were going on, because believe it or not, Hansford was in pretty much agreement on most of the stuff that was going on. don't think he was in agreement with all of it, but, you know, me and Hansford talked about it, and, you know, I asked him to come be on the show, and he said he would try to get here. I talked to him earlier today. He was going to try to get here. Apparently, he's not going to be able to make it. So, but, you know, we'll try to get him on later. And, you know, but, so there you go. If anybody's got any questions about the city of La Follette, you know, that's what's going on right there. So, there's another article here because, you know, you folks know I love elections. I vote every time there's a vote coming up. There's an article here that says more than a fourth of Campbell County's registered voters are inactive. Okay, I'm a former election commissioner, and I think I remember what's going to happen in these situations. It says here about 7,000 we have nearly 7,000 inactive voters in the Campbell County voter roll. That means 28% of the 23,826 names on the voter count have not voted in the last 2 federal elections, or they've left the county without a forwarding address. Okay? The number of active voters total 17,181. Okay? And during March we had 119 people newly registered, so that's pretty good. Well, what's going to happen if you're one of those 7,000 and you haven't voted in the last 2 federal elections, or if you've moved? It doesn't matter if you've moved, you don't get a vote anyway. So, but if you haven't voted in the last 2 federal elections and you're considered to be inactive, if I remember correctly, you're going to get a certified letter in the mail letting you know that you're about to be purged from the active voting rolls. Okay? And I think you need to respond to that if you get one of those letters. And I think you need to contact the election commission and let them know, hey, you have intentions of voting and all that, and there may be some action you still need to take. I'm not sure, but at the very least you need to contact them. If they don't hear from you, then my understanding is you will get a second registered letter. Okay? And if they don't hear from you at that time, at some point in time, the election commission will meet and they will vote to remove you from the active voting rolls. Okay? Now that doesn't mean you can't ever vote again. That just means you have to re-register. Okay? So think about it, folks. In this county, 43, 44, 45,000 people, we've only got 17,181 people that are considered active voters. Now, I know in most elections, we only have about, the big elections, if I remember correctly, we only have about 10 or 11,000 people that even vote. Okay? So you've got pretty much 1/4 of the people, as far as elections, making decisions for the whole county. Okay? Now, that's not them 1/4 of the people's fault. They're doing what they're supposed to do. It's the rest of you's fault. Okay? You can look down there and say, hey, I don't like this county commission. I ain't happy about this county commission. Okay? It's your fault if you didn't vote. It's that simple. Okay? It's your fault. If you chose not to vote at the last county, you know, now I'm not one of these that says, hey, if you didn't vote, you don't have a right to fuss and all that. You still pay your taxes. You're going to pay them whether you like it or not, or lose your property. So it ain't like voting. You can go vote if you want to, or you don't have to go vote. You're going to pay your taxes. Okay? So as long as you're paying your taxes, to me, you got a right to argue about and fuss if things are not going right in this county. So, but you know, I'm one that just believes in the voting process. I wish we had more people that participated in the voting, but you know, if we've only got 17,000, well, we've got 23,826 that are registered, and if we had 11,000 that voted in the last big election 2 years ago, let me see what that percentage is. Okay. %46 voting. Okay. 46% voting. Okay. Okay. I texted somebody, or so, you know, I'll get to this in a minute. So, I mean, the fact is, in this election, we've only got, okay, I'm getting a couple of texts. This election, we've only got 5 school board members, the road superintendent, and the property assessor is basically on local levels all we've got. Then we've got state representative, and we've got the state senator. Okay, the state senator doesn't have a challenger, as far as I know. The state representative does, and I'm hoping Bob Fannin will win that. Property assessor, I can tell you, I talked to Brandon. He's just giddy. He's happy. He's tickled to death that he doesn't have anybody running against him. So Brandon only needs 1 vote to get in, and he's going to get a few. Okay, but I talked to him. Brandon's still going to get out and greet you. He's still going to get out and shake hands. He's still going to have some campaign functions for you to come down there and meet him and greet. You know, and you come down there. If you don't know Brandon, get down there and meet him. But one thing he did tell me, them great big old ugly boards with his old ugly face on them that you normally see all over the place, he ain't gonna put them out this time, so you don't have to see that ugly mug looking at you as you're driving down the road. Okay, so he's gonna put out some signs, because he should. It's a campaign still yet. Okay, but them great big ones that he's got his old face looking at you up and down the road, he told me he pretty much ain't gonna put them out this time, and I don't blame him. I wouldn't either. Okay, Brandon's doing a great job down there. You know, and anytime you were in a situation like that and you don't have an opponent, you got to be tickled to death. And you know, that to me, that says that folks out there are realizing you're doing a good job and that the citizens have confidence in you. Okay, so and I fully, you know, me and Mr. Slusher told you some time ago that it was our intention 100% to back Brandon on his reelection, and that wasn't going to change if he'd had somebody to come up. So, but so I'm tickled for Brandon, because he, you know, and I'm glad I don't have to see them signs. That's just, to be honest with you, I'm glad I don't have to see them signs. So, but anyway, I've had a couple of texts here. Somebody asked me about, does anybody know anything about the LUB, the utility department, tree trimming that was subbed out to ABC Tree Trimming out of Texas? Okay, apparently a company out of Texas has gotten some contracts with LUB. Okay, now I know of 2 folks here locally that run tree trimming operations. Now, one of them I don't think Tommy Hatmaker. I don't think he does line work like that LUB does. If Tom, if you're watching, if I'm wrong, call me and correct me. But I don't think Tom does the line work like that. But I know there's another fella in town that has a pretty big operation. That I mean, he's a local guy, pays taxes here, has business here, has properties here, you know, and you know, I mean, why can't he get some of these contracts if he's not getting any? You know, I don't know what's going on there. If anybody knows anything about that, call, let me know. And also, there's some events going on this weekend. I didn't know about this one. I wish somebody'd call and tell me. I texted my buddy Aaron Evans, because he had told me last weekend that there's a lot of stuff going on this weekend, and I texted him before the show and asked him, because I didn't know what was going on. Apparently there's a fishing tournament Saturday morning at the White Bridge. I didn't know anything about that. So, you know, if you're not in the fishing tournament, you can go out and you know, watch some of it, watch them cast off, and you know, and then when they come back in and they have the weigh-in, That's some neat stuff to watch. So I don't know if this is adults. I don't know if it's the kids, the high school kids or what. So maybe somebody will call and let us know about the fishing tournament. Okay. And Honeybee told me about this one. Ralph Stanley II apparently is doing a bluegrass concert at the high school Saturday night. I think it says here at 5 o'clock. A bluegrass concert at the high school. Okay, and then the high school prom is apparently Saturday night. So watch out. Be careful. Watch out for them kids driving up and down the road in their tuxedos and their fancy dresses, and I'm assuming that as the prom goes on, there's going to be a lot of traffic up that way. So just and I know the people on the road up through there fly up and down that road. So hopefully there'll be some police officers, out there slowing folks down. So, but anyway, with 40 minutes in the show, somebody's finally called me. I appreciate that. You're on the air.
Yeah, you talking about Ralph Stanley came down there at high school?
Yes, sir.
Buddy, he does good, but I'll tell you what, he's got some guys opened up for him, Bill Sellers from up home there.
Okay, well now Honeybee said she knew somebody was opening, she didn't know who it was. Who is it?
Bill Sellers, and they beat some more there, but I'm telling you what, and what did they, I swear I've done lost their name already, but anyway, they going to be there, and Bill Sellers and them boys is as good as anybody up here.
So do you know anything about the concert? You just know they're playing?
I know they're playing. I know it's Saturday.
It's Saturday. Okay, I'm assuming there's an admission fee.
Yeah, well, it's $15 to get the tickets from Rodney Carty and Scott Wilson, I believe it is, through the Shriners up there. They're the ones having it.
Okay.
And it's $20 at the door.
Okay.
And it's for a real good, it's for a good person. It's for the Shriners. It's for the handicapped.
Okay, so it's for a cause.
Yeah.
Okay, see, I'd asked Honeybee about that too. I said, is it just a concert? I said, are they raising money for something? And she didn't know. So they are raising money for the Shriners.
Yeah, and they're going to have food down there also.
Well, I ain't never seen anything the Shriners were involved in. They didn't have food.
You like that food, don't you?
Hey, you look at me and tell. When I go somewhere, I like to have something to eat on. You know what I mean?
You like me. I sort of enjoy it when they have food there.
Yeah. So this is Saturday night. I think it's at 5 o'clock.
It starts at 5. Yeah.
5 o'clock. So it's probably going to go a while.
And if anybody's ever watched any of them, they put on a good show.
They put on a good show. So at the high school, Campbell County High School.
Now, yeah, Bill Sellers and them boys are local from up in Speedwell.
From up in Speedwell.
Yeah.
Okay, and you say there's going to be more than one opening group, or?
I think so, Jerry. I ain't for sure.
So this thing's going to last a while.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we go. And hang on, don't hang up. Folks, how many times again, I'm going to say it again, how many times do you hear there's just nothing to do in Campbell County? There's just nothing to do, okay? Well, there's all kinds of things going on Saturday. Now, as far as I know, I think in the Wounded Warriors having a turkey hunt Saturday.
It was last Saturday, right?
I think it's this Saturday.
Oh, is it this Saturday?
I think the Wounded Warriors, because now I was invited to a dinner Friday night, and I think I'm going to get to go somewhere up on Stinking Creek. And I said I don't have any idea where it's at.
They're going to have is it like a pig roast or something up there? I
don't think so. It may be. I don't know. But this was just something I was invited to it. I'm not sure. And it's honoring the Wounded Warriors. And my understanding is that they have. There's 20 or 25 of them that have signed up for this thing, and you had to sign up, folks. You can't just show up and go hunt. Okay? Yeah. You had to sign up because they've got a guide going out for you. They've got four-wheelers, people with four-wheelers that can carry you out to where you're going, because some of these Wounded Warriors are in wheelchairs and things like that. And they've got all kinds of people signed up, volunteering, folks, to take these Wounded Warriors out And I think the person I talked to said, I think last year they took out about 20 people, and I think he said 5 or 6 of them got a turkey. I said, oh, so everybody ain't guaranteed? He said, no, it's hunting just like any other.
Yeah,
you know,
it's open, huh?
It's not like they're lining turkeys up out there and letting people shoot them. He said it's a hunt just like anything else.
Out in front of them.
Yeah, he said it's a hunt just like anything else. And so, we got that going on. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Two things mistaken. It's got a fishing tournament going on also.
Now there's a fishing tournament, but all I got was that there's a fishing tournament. It didn't tell me whether there was a who it was. So it's one of those high school fishing tournaments.
Yeah. I know my grandson and his buddy that fishes it, and they fish Saturday down there.
What time are they going to launch?
It's early when they go out, but I ain't for sure.
I think they generally launch about 7 o'clock.
Yeah, it's either 6 or 7.
Okay, that's awful early for them high school kids to get up. But I'm telling you, they love it, don't they?
Hey, I'm telling you, that young man that fishes my grandson, he's just like him. The earlier, the better.
Yeah, and they get out and they'll fish.
Well, they enjoy it.
And they generally come back in about 2 o'clock and have the weigh-in.
Yep, well, I think they have the weigh-ins at 3 if they.
The weigh-ins at 3 this time.
Yeah, I believe so.
And them kids out there have a good time. They're very respectful. And if I remember correctly, they have to have an adult in the boat with them, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to have an adult with them. When the high school kids are going out, it's a very respectful situation. They're not throwing trash out in the lake, and these kids are very, it's a great situation, folks.
And when they go out, if they've got trash, they bring it back in.
They're required,
Yep.
Not only do these folks respect the lake and wouldn't do it anyway, they're required to bring it back in.
Yeah, that's a good thing. They're not allowed to dispense anything out in the lake. I mean, they have to bring everything.
They have to bring everything back in. They have to account for everything. Okay, so it's a real good situation, and this is what, the second or third one already this year. And we're getting more and more of these things, folks. There's a lot of bad things going on in this community, but we got a lot of good stuff that are starting to happen.
Yeah, there's stuff that's trying to improve, take over the bad.
Absolutely, there is.
But you got a good show, and I'll find out for sure on that, and I'll holler back if I do.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, these fishing tournaments, and there's a lot of people involved. And I'm trying to get some of these folks to come on. It's hard to get some of these folks because most of the folks that I want to have on the show are people that go to church on Wednesday night, and it's hard for them to get here because they go to church on Wednesday night. Because the show starts right about, most churches are not even finished at 8 o'clock on Wednesday night. Okay, so but Mr. Branham down at the Chamber of Commerce, Cindy Rogers at the tourism director. The mayor's involved in these. I know Dwayne Kitts, Mailman Kitts, the county commissioner, he's involved in a lot of this stuff that's going on. Everybody knows what's going on in the city of La Follette, and then the one thing they talked about is the four-wheeling thing that they had, I think it was in October. Hey, they're expecting that thing to be bigger and better this year than it's ever been before. There's some things going on, folks, that are looking up. You're on the air.
Jerry, I have a question.
Okay.
I was curious, what is that building that is right in town, right there? What's that going to be?
What building is that?
Where about Roby's Blocks used to be?
I don't know. I'm honest with you. I don't know. Is something going in there?
It's a big, huge building. They're building,
Somebody's.
3-story high. It's already up.
Okay.
They're right.
Well, now maybe somebody will tell me. Let me see if I can get a hold of the mayor.
Yeah, I just wondered because I'd come around by there and, it didn't say what it was.
Yeah. Now, I'll be honest with you. I talk to a lot of folks in La Follette, and I don't get down to La Follette very often. Because I work in Chattanooga, and when I get home, I just don't feel like much coming past Caryville. And then when me and my wife go somewhere, we generally go toward the mountains or somewhere. But let me see if I can find out, and I'll let you know.
Thanks.
Thank you. So if anybody knows what's going on in the city of Foley as far as a building going up, let us know. I didn't realize there's a building going up. Okay. That would have been Mr. Fannin. If you're watching, text me and let me know. Hopefully you're watching. Text me and let me know what's going up, what's being built down there. Okay. You're on the air.
That's the electric department is building that building.
Oh, the electric department's building a building?
Yeah,
So they're going to move from the little building they're in to another building, or are they just adding space, or what?
That's the old Louis block building.
Yeah, that's what the lady said. I didn't realize there was something. So are they moving from where they're at now?
I don't know. But that's who's building it.
Okay. The electric department. Okay. So, unfortunately, that doesn't add anything to the tax rolls, does it?
I don't guess.
I don't think the electric department, I don't think that adds anything to the tax rolls. Appreciate you letting me know.
All right, buddy.
Thank you. So there you go. I don't think they don't help the city or the county out as far as the tax rolls are concerned. You're on the air.
Yes, that's they're building the garage for the electric department there.
Is that what it is, a garage?
Yeah, they're gonna work on vehicles.
Oh, they won't work on their own vehicles, maintenance and all that?
Yes.
And get all them big trucks under cover instead of sitting out in the weather all the time?
Yeah, that's where they repair them at. It's gonna be a truck garage.
That's gonna be a truck garage. Okay, appreciate you, buddy. Thank you. Ma'am, you got your answer. That's the electric department. The electric department's building the building, and unfortunately, I'm pretty sure that doesn't add to the tax rolls, so, but if it saves some money on, maybe it'll save some money on repairs and, maybe do a little more maintenance on the vehicles. I don't know if they have an issue or not. I don't know why they needed a garage, but apparently they needed one, and they're building one. So, maybe having a building on that land, make it look better down there instead of an empty lot or whatever was going on. So, there you go. So, I want to say this. I've only got a few minutes left, and I'd love to have a couple more calls. I don't generally do this, but I'm going to do this time. Okay? If you didn't get your Christian Journal Leader last week, go find you one. Okay? Go find you one. Go get you one. Okay? I didn't get one. I think, I'm pretty sure, I guess Ariel Gibson got this one, and he left it for me, and I appreciate him doing that, because I hadn't read this article that Ann Hester wrote, an article last week, and this is in last week's paper, Christian Journal Leader, and it's County Government 101. Okay? And 99.5% of it, I don't see anything I disagree with, other than, there's one little situation in here that we have a little difference of opinion on, but 99.5% of this article, every bit of it, I agree with it, and it is a great article, folks. It's stuff that we talk about on here. It's stuff that stuff that you need to know, and it's stuff that you need to understand about what's happening in your local governments. Okay, and basically what it's about is how in Campbell County the government doesn't work for us anymore. We work for the government. Okay, in Campbell County, and I've said this, everything's about the county government here. Okay, we had our finance director last week criticize the private business. Okay. Our finance director has made a statement about Vital Care. You're on the air.
Hey, Dre, I told you the high school, they do have a fishing tournament, but Thursday is at Loudon this weekend.
Okay.
I don't know whose that is.
Okay, so there is a fishing tournament. Maybe this is one of those, we had a pretty big one last year where about 250 boats, that's about 200 boats came from all around the country. And I can't imagine it being that group because they would have advertised that a little more.
Yeah, no, it's not that high caliber. I know they're going to have one.
Yeah, I know that one's coming back. I'm just not sure when it is.
Yeah, I just don't know exactly when.
Okay.
That's one that the kids guy got in here.
Right. Well, he had a lot. He helped with it a lot.
Yeah, he helped a lot.
He helped with it a lot. The county commissioner, Mailman Kitts. He helped with it a bunch, and he also helped with these high school ones.
Yeah.
He helped get those in here too. So,
You know what? People may not know it, but that kid's boy right there, he does a lot more for people in Campbell County than people really know.
Yeah.
But I've seen stuff and his stuff on that man that he does. He don't do it because he has to. He does it because he loves people.
He does do that. I know that I've talked to him a bunch.
Yep.
I've gotten to know him recently in the last 2 or 3 years. And no question about that. I've gotten to know him better. But did I see a picture? Has he grown a beard?
I don't know.
I think I saw a picture. He's grown a beard. Mailman shaved that thing off. That's all I got to say about that. If you've got a beard and you to shave that thing off, get rid of it.
Yeah, but it'd be looking like some of his uncle-in-law.
No, I ain't gonna go there. We might not go there. Somebody might end up suing us.
Okay, hey, have a safe trip home.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. So, if this article, go get you a copy of the Christian Journal Leader. There's some other stuff in it too. This is a great article, but on my Campbell County Arrest Facebook page, if you're on Facebook, I'm one of the administrators on a page, Campbell County Arrest is what it is. Like that page and read that page. Thanks to Mike Zawinski, the Christian Journal Leader, I'm going to put a copy of this article on that page probably here in the next hour or so, for you to read, or go get you a copy of the paper. There's a lot of other stuff in the paper also. But I appreciate Mike sending that to me. I asked him and he sent it to me. It's a long article, but every word of it's good reading, folks. It just really is. It's good reading, and it's the stuff that without pointing anybody out. Okay, it's stuff that I know you're thinking, but you won't say it. You'd never say it out in public or anything. I've said a lot of this stuff on this show, but she's put it in writing in the newspaper. Okay, I think it's like I said. I read it a little while ago. I think it's a great article. And one of the things it talked about is, if I remember correctly, the mayor said he's going to have town hall meetings in every community if he gets elected. And I don't think that's happened yet. If it's happened, I don't know about it. Is he advertising it? If it's happened, I haven't seen these town hall meetings. I'm talking about the county mayor. I'm not talking about the city. I'm talking about the county mayor. Okay, I haven't seen these things. Okay, so, but I'm gonna put a copy of that article on there. On the Campbell County Arrest Facebook page. Again, I know when you get on there you don't like to read something that long, but I can promise you this is very well worth reading. You'll want to read this. So, Honeybee, we about ready to go? I think I'm ready. I think I've talked myself to death. I've had a few callers. I appreciate that. I wish some more of you'd get involved in call, but I appreciate you, and I'll see you next week.
When every second counts,